now entering the horror sanctum.
Hello, and welcome back to the Horror Sanctum podcast. I'm Jay with John and Kellen, and we are once again talking about a film from the glorious year of 2024. I feel like the last 4 or 5 episodes I've said something about 2024 being a great year for horror. It has just continued. So this week we're going to be talking about M. Night Shyamalan's newest flick, Trap. Starring the incomparable Josh Hartnett. He is on my shirt, my faculty shirt that I have. I think that's their Tommy Hilfiger ad they had when the movie came out. If you've listened to us before and you've listened to Weirdos with Kellen and I before, you know I love Josh Hartnett. Like, if there was such a thing as a man crush for me, Josh Hartnett is one of them for sure. So I am super excited that he is back in the spotlight. He's done a few things here and there, but this is his biggest role he's had in a long time. I also saw Creed a couple weeks ago. So Creed, Josh Hartnett in my life again. It's not 1998, but it sure as hell feels like it. So 2024's Trap, if you're unfamiliar, a man and his teenage daughter realize they're at the center of a dark and sinister event while watching a concert. And as always, we will have spoilers.
Spoilers aplenty. It's hard to not spoil a movie that's pretty straightforward, and that's what we get this time. Everyone's used to the shock value or the twists that M. Night Shyamalan does, and he goes a completely different direction in this movie and tells you right away what's going on, and just lets you sit around for a very suspenseful ride. Like Jay said to open, so good to have Josh Hartnett in something, especially something in his genre. I know he was in Oppenheimer, but to be in his, and I feel like horror is his home, because most of the roles that we really remember Josh Hartnett for, The Faculty, H2O, that's kind of him, right? he was our 90s, or the heartthrob of the horror 90s genre. So great to see him. He's amazing in this. I didn't have a doubt that he would be, but me and Jay were talking before the show, kind of just about a little bit about the movie, and the way his face changes on a dime in this movie, from trying to look inquisitive to being like stone cold killer, which is what he is in this movie. Spoilers, which is not a spoiler. That's literally the premise of the movie. He's the butcher, as the police call his character in the movie. And we know that from probably 20 minutes in, when they get to the concert and he checks the phone and you see that he's got a guy chained up in a basement somewhere.
I don't even think it was 20 minutes. I don't even think it was that long. And it's the previews. Like, we know from the jump, he's the killer and they're searching for him.
Yeah. And I appreciate that. I'm going to go ahead and just get this out there. I loved this movie. This was so Jay doesn't have to unfriend me. I absolutely love this movie, and I loved it for that reason. I love the fact that instead of trying to come up with some convoluted plot or trying to build suspense in a sneaky way, or trying to be like typical M. Night Shyamalan that we expect, he just goes ahead and punches you in the gut in the beginning. It's like, hey, you love Josh Hartnett, you're going to love him a little less for the next hour and a half because he's a monster. And again, he's so good in horror roles, especially going from being the teen heartthrob that's helpful to being the actual monster. In The Faculty, he's the hero. In H2O, he's one of the heroes along with Jamie Lee Curtis. In this, he is the monster. It's the phrase, you live long enough to see yourself become the villain. And that's what's happened. And kudos to him on doing a great job in this. Ariel Donahue, who plays his daughter, she was fantastic. She was super believable as a teen girl who's obsessed with this pop star. I kind of likened it. We took our daughters and their friends to see Olivia Rodrigo, and that was the same feel. This whole the universe that he built around his daughter, Salika, who plays Lady Raven, is perfect for what you expect for teenage girls obsessing over a specific musician. Jay, you had something?
So you'll have to Google this, and most of the people listening will have to Google this. I think I texted it to John. His daughter looks exactly like Sam Huntington. He was in Fanboys. He's been a ton of other stuff. Even I made Lindsay watch it, and I'm like, does she not look like Sam Huntington? And she's like, oh my god. Yeah. And as soon as I saw this one in theaters, I grew. I'm like, that is totally his little sister. No relation at all, but they look exactly alike. Like, it's insane. Sorry,
Sam Huntington.
It's pretty close. I agree.
Let's pause close. While Kellen Googled.
I googled. Yeah. You know, I can see it a little bit. She's definitely more attractive than him.
Wow.
So she's got that going for her. But I mean, she's great in it. Like, that's the thing that really sticks out, and it's one of the things you see when we go from watching these B movies to watching an actual budgeted film. Is the quality a lot of times steps up in one specific area, and that's the acting, overall acting. You get the B movies, you're going to have a couple of people that, you know, that's where they're going to make their break, or they're trying to break into films, and you know, you're going to have some gems, but for a lot of the other parts are going to be a little less thrilling. Everybody in this movie is great. Allison Pill, who is always fantastic, love her. She's so good as the mom. I mean, the scene in the end where you're to find out the only quote unquote twist, that she was the one that ultimately got him caught. You feel like she is brokenhearted at the fact that she's realized that her husband is a monster. The cinematography is great during the concert scenes in the movie. You know, once we get in the limo and back to his house, you're in just standard affair. There's no real way to gussy up the living room of somebody's house to be extra theatrical. But the whole concert part, you feel like you're there. Him panic, seeing the panic in Josh Hartnett as he tries to figure out a way out, and having the psychologist, the what's the term, profiler.
The Dr. Loomis.
Him being able to listen. Yeah, Dr. Loomis, that's a great parable. But to be able to, him listening in, and as he's doing things, he's hearing that he's going to try to do this, and he's like, the scene where he goes to pull the fire extinguisher. This was just so much fun for a suspense movie. A lot of times they get too carried away in trying to be overly suspenseful. I don't know if that makes sense, but it's almost like they try too hard to force you to feel suspense. And in this one, it's just being so minimal in the beginning and having you almost kind of like Hannibal Lecter. You feel for the bad guy because, you know, he does have this daughter who adores him, and he just happens to be a monster. They don't really go much into the backstory. You know that there's some things with his mom. There's obviously some childhood trauma that probably led him down this, a la Dexter. But we don't ever really understand why he is the way he is. We just know that something happened, and I think that's just enough. I don't think you need to go into details. I think just giving a glimpse that he's a monster. He probably always would have been, but something definitely happened to him to push him in this direction. He knows it. He knows that he can't help himself, and he just gives in. The whole scene about him keeping both his life separate, it shows that he has an awareness of what he is, which we don't often see. So overall, I thoroughly enjoyed this. I never found myself at any point kind of bored, which happens a lot. Y'all know from my movie reviews that there's a lot of times we're gonna the ADD is real. There's a movie that we're going to talk about later, and that's going to be one that I'm going to be.
I figured that was the direction it was going to go.
So overall, this is one that I would absolutely recommend somebody to see, especially if you're in our age group and you grew up with Josh Hartnett, to get to see him again, just being his Josh Hartnett-y self. Props to him for being able to pull off an entire career with bed hair. Up until he's in his 40, I think he's 45, looked it up. So that's what my hair is, as an homage to Mr. Josh Hartnett. So that's it. A great, fun film, totally worth the watch.
I don't share the exact same sentiments that Kellen just said. I like it. I think it's a good movie. I do enjoy it. I don't hate it by any means. I wouldn't even say that I disliked a lot of it by any means, but I first saw it and I watched it again yesterday. The first thing that struck me with the movie was that it doesn't it didn't have as much rewatch for me the second time around because I noticed a lot of things the first time that I didn't see. The biggest thing that about the movie is, it's Josh Hartnett is the reason it's good. Josh Hartnett is great in it. I wouldn't dispute that. I'd be an idiot to say he wasn't. He's great. He's great at playing the psycho. He kind of does that dual role of like Bruce Wayne Batman. Like he's like the all shucks dad, then he's the killer, and the facial expressions, all of that. The problem is that the second half of the movie is just kind of really fucking dumb. The daughter of M. Night Shyamalan, Salika, I'm sorry, but she's terrible. Like, that's like the most nepotistic shit imaginable. Like, she is not good in this movie. And he puts
himself in all his movies too. Like, he is the king of nepotism, bro.
Well, at least he puts himself in small roles, though. I mean, I just felt like she was not very good at her, like what she was doing. I thought Josh Hartnett's daughter was good. I thought he was good. I thought the psychiatrist that was coming after him was good. I thought Alison Pill was good. A lot of the things in the movie were just very, it's M. Night Shyamalan, so a lot of it is unrealistic. It's very, I don't know if it's very exaggerated. There's something surreal about it, like with the camera work, and it gets right up close on people. And I don't always mind that, like with Signs. I mean, obviously, Signs is ridiculous in parts, but I fucking love that movie, right? There's just something about this movie that when I rewatched it, there's just a lot of things he did in it in the writing that I just thought were stupid. The guy, the t-shirt vendor, I mean, good actor, sweetie. I'm sure he's like, the character's like a sweetheart, but God, what a fucking moron. Like, who would ever do that? No one would ever do that. And then
that post-credit scene though was fantastic.
It was
him, because that's exactly what you would expect that character to do, watching the news and be like, oh shit, that's the guy.
Yeah. I mean, he was good. It's not criticizing his acting. It's just, and then the whole thing where Lady Raven is at the house. She comes back with Josh Hartnett and the daughter. She gets in the bathroom and she's like, gets on her Instagram and she's talking to her followers and they find the house. I'm like, that is so dumb. Like, that is so dumb. That would never, ever happen. Like, randomly someone on her live chat's like, bruh, that's like right by me. Like, so that's so fucking dumb. I would
say it would never happen. When I saw that the first time, this is kind of strange. The second time I thought about it a little bit more, and like if Taylor Swift were in that situation and the millions and upon millions of people that are going to watch that stream, my knock on that was it happened too fast. They figured it out too fast. They had to for the movie and the way it was going, but I wouldn't doubt that being something that happens in real life. I would just doubt how speedy it was.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, I know where that place. Blue door, hell yeah. I have a blue door on my house here. Right. There's a ton of blue doors. It was just a little too quick for me.
Yeah, I can go with that. I mean, I think in that scenario, if that was real and that happened, could someone figure something out in like 10 minutes? Yeah, I mean, probably. And I get it's a movie. They didn't have 10 minutes to do that, but and the ending, the ending is a cool ending. He's being locked up and he's, surprise, surprise. He's like an escape artist, right? So he's got the bike spoke and he's using it to unlock his cuffs. But, even that scene is so crazy. Like, you're telling me that all of these SWAT team members and all these people are not going to see him put a foot-long bike spoke in his pocket? Like, that's the kind of stuff with
it was up his sleeve, John. If you're going to pick it apart, at least pay attention to where it came from.
You guys have to admit, if Josh Hartnett was not in this movie, you would not like it as much.
Oh, I agree. That's in my notes. He definitely helped it. But, yeah, I agree with that. And they played on his OCD, and that's why he did it. He's like, I've got to stand this bike up.
Right.
And I will say this real quick. Okay, I get the OCD part, and he follows that well until he goes to the garage and he knocks over one of those tennis rackets. Mm-hmm. So there's 3 tennis rackets on the wall. He hits 2 of them. One falls, the other turns. He moved that other one. He readjusted that one, make it straight, but he didn't pick up that other one. So he didn't suffer from OCD too much.
Yeah, that's true. I didn't even notice that. Now that you said it, I didn't pick up on that. I mean, I I don't know. It's like it's an enjoyable movie, and I did like it, and I think it's well worth watching by all means. I just think some of the writing, like every movie, whenever I watch a film, especially like one like this, I kind of like to live. I kind of like to judge it based on the world it exists in, right? So, like in Signs, you're in this world where aliens exist. It's so you're already like, okay, a lot is possible, right? You can kind of stretch your imagination out. In this, the premise is very grounded in the sense that it's a serial killer. They're trying to catch him. You know, there's a lot of stuff here that in theory could happen. So I think that's where the writing for me just kind of got infuriated. It was like right at the second half of the movie, like when they leave the concert, that's where it kind of loses me because I'm just like, man, like there's a lot here that could be a great film in my opinion. Like I think if he just tweaked the writing, it could be great. But I just felt like there was a few things that were, I don't know what you would call it, lazy script writing, convenient plot. There's a term, I don't know, but it's just, and it's my opinion. I know that like a lot of people love M. Night for this very reason, a lot of his movies. And a lot of his movies, I'm fine with it. You know, like I don't have a problem with it always. I think first watch, I was really excited to see it. And then second watch, I let it sink in and I was like, it was kind of a mixed bag for me. So overall, you know, I did enjoy it. I like it. It's not a thumbs down by any means, but some of the writing just kind of got to me, I guess. But
Yeah, I get that. So what's great is I took notes, and then as you can see, I scribbled a ton while you guys were talking.
yeah,
And you didn't pick up on anything that I have written down except one part. So I have a lot to say here. First of all, upon rewatch, I'm Cooper. I can relate to him so hard. One of the best scenes in the entire film is the break room scene, which Kellen kind of touched on, where he changes his facial expressions, where he goes in and the SWAT team's in there having a meeting and he just acts like he works there, goes over to the coffee maker, so cool and collected and calm. And, you know, and then someone asks where the sugar is. And he's like, oh, so-and-so was supposed to feel that. Like the writing there was great. And when he comes back through them and he's smiling, he's all happy, and then he just shuts it off. And then like he shoulders some of them. Like that was badass. He was a badass for that part.
yeah.
Some of the things I didn't like. Why the hell did he have his phone unmuted? Every time he looked at the guy in the basement or wherever, it was always unmuted. Now, granted, you're at a concert. Okay, but when you were in the bathroom stall, you're like, I'm going to look at this real quick. He fucking had it unmuted. All that dude had to say was like, fucking hell, like, you know, scream, do something. And the bystanders would have heard that. That drove me nuts. Another thing that drove me nuts, and I also cackled at, is Kid Cudi. Kid Cudi serves zero fucking purpose in this movie. He is only there because I assume he either has worked with Shyamalan's daughter, Lady Raven, or he's a huge fan and requested it after, you know, he's been an ex and he's kind of starting to act more. Him checking out Josh Hartnett was hilarious. And, you know, like twisting his long blonde hair, like that was funny, but he served no purpose. The other kid that comes out from the ground, he at least served a purpose. He sang almost the entire song, but Kid Cudi was just there like, yo, remix 2024. Like it was so strange. I didn't hate it. It just felt weird. I wouldn't be surprised if they just
that's kind of like the Harry Styles phenomenon a couple of years ago, where he was just kind of popping up everywhere because he was real popular at the moment.
Even in Marvel movies that they're never going to pick back up on.
Yeah, it's kind of like product placement, except now you're doing it with popular pop artists and actors and such.
And I like Kid Cudi. He's a good actor. I enjoy the music. I think that Shyamalan probably wrote the first half of this movie and then he had to figure out the rest. And what you see in the previews is the concert, right? I don't think it shows much outside of the show. And the movie does shift. There's definitely a shift after they get out of the venue. Spoilers, he does get out of the venue. But that first half of that movie, 4.5 for me. Like it is pure anxiety driven. One thing Lindsay picked up on when I made her watch it the other night. What show you get out of and it's daylight outside?
Right.
We said the same thing. I said that when he got home and it was still daylight. I was like, what time did that concert start?
Now, for us in our 40s, that's fucking wonderful.
Right.
That's what I would love to have. Like, get me home by 5 p.m. I'm good. That was a little strange. If that was just a miss thing, or the only thing I could fathom is this concert was set up for the specific purpose of getting him, but that wasn't the case.
Yeah,
You know, so like, oh, we're going to do it at 2 a.m. this special secret show, but that wasn't the case. So I think that was just lazy writing to a degree. He had so many lucky breaks. That was something I didn't care for. Stan Lee had a show, Lucky Man. I don't know if that was it, but it was a guy, and even like Domino in Deadpool 2.
Oh, yeah, yeah.
Like, that was her superpower, like luck. He has that superpower. I mean, look at all my other notes here. So, the Shyamalan effect. Nickelback, Dave Matthews, Creed. People want to shit on him before this movie even comes out. And I get it, because he started off up here with The Sixth Sense, and he's never going to get that feeling or that emotion out of us again. Like, he's not. We've seen too much at this point. We're too desensitized. That blew all of our collective minds. So now everyone's holding him to the standard where every movie's got to be the same, right? The only one that's come close is Signs. Signs is probably my favorite alien movie of all time. It's fucking amazing.
Split was pretty good.
Which one?
I like
Split was pretty
Split's good too. And I actually told somebody today,
Yeah.
somebody saw Trapped, and they're like, so they're gonna make a sequel. I'm like, Shyamalan doesn't really do sequels. I'm like, oh wait, he did a trilogy. It is possible. I hope he doesn't. It's fine to be one and done. It's perfectly fine to do that. So I hope he does. You feel bad for the daughter because she's having the best day of her life, and it's about to turn to the worst day of her life. It's very heartbreaking, that whole situation. I cackled when he knocked the one girl down the stairs. So he was testing the police presence at the door. He's like, okay, I'm going to cause a scene. They're going to come help her. I'm going to sneak out. So he just fucking knocks her down the stairs and tumbles. And the daughter's like, Dad, what happened? Like, she must have drank too much, and she fell. But the cops do come to her aid, but more come back. So he doesn't get to get out again. The concert stuff was a little cringy. The singing, but again, Kellen's been to a show like this. I have not been to a show like this. So that's probably how things really go down. There's a group of girls dancing with the video in the hallways. Like, it's probably accurate. For me as a 40-year-old man, I've
seen JoJo Siwa live. I can attest.
God help you.
That was a while ago, right? Not recently.
No, that was when she was still Nickelodeon JoJo. That was before tequila shots on the stage JoJo.
Snort coke.
I will say I still have the recording of the JoJo concert when the music came up and people thought she was about to come out, and I had to check to make sure my ears hadn't bled, because an entire room of 10 to 13-year-old girls all screaming at the exact same time, you could weaponize that and win almost any world war.
Yeah, I believe it. One thing when I made Lindsay watch, she kept saying, is it not over? Like, what is, she thought it was over like 10 times before it was actually over. So every time he would get caught or something, I'm like, well, they got him now. Well, they got him now. Like I said it a few times. I hope they don't make a sequel. I mean, that's going to be a tough out to get out of the back of that truck anyway. So I think it's just him doing it on his own terms. I wouldn't be surprised if he just took that spoke or the handcuffs and slit his throat, because that was his plan anyways. You know, he's going to kill himself and save everybody the trouble. We did a text. I was like, who do you hate the most out of this movie? And I don't remember you guys' answer, but mine was Allison Pill, who I love. Lindsay's like, where do I know her from? I said, well, it's not Scott Pilgrim versus the World, because you fucking fell asleep during that. She remembered her from American Horror Story, but I love Allison Pill. Dan in Real Life, if you haven't seen that one with Steve Carell, amazing. I was so mad at her, and I can't believe he ate the fucking pie. How someone so intelligent did not see that coming a mile away. Like, even if it wasn't his bag, she could have got anything. And you only have that brief shot where he goes back and his view's obstructed by the wall where the bar is. So you see her bend down. She's not getting a fork. She's not getting a spoon. She's not going to bend down for all that. So you if you caught it, you know, okay, she's going to poison him. I thought maybe it was like Clorox or something, but he just eats that pie, not thinking for 1 second.
I think that's kind of explained in his monologue, talking about being so angry. Like he's not thinking straight at that moment and he mentions that he's never felt like that before, which I thought was such a great dialogue.
Oh, dude, that was so good. Like he's never felt that kind of anger before.
Yeah. And he's almost like excited about it.
Well, he's turned into the Hulk. When those guys came at him, he was like about to poke the guy's eyes out. I was like, holy shit, man.
Did you see his feet shake?
Oh yeah.
When the other two tase him and it shows the guy still laying on the ground whose eyes he tried to gouge out, and you see his feet shake one more time like a convulsion. I was like, well, that's pretty
good writing.
Nifty.
So, good, bad writing hand in hand in for this one. So last thing I'll say, I actually thought about today. I had breakfast with David Littleton, who's Uncle Peckerhead in the Uncle Peckerhead movies. And he was talking about, what movies have you seen lately? I told him, he's like, I haven't seen this or that. He's like, I saw Trap. I didn't like it. Oh, okay. And me, I'm like, well, me either, but I loved it. But we talked about, he's like, it was PG, wasn't it? I was like, oh, no. I said it was PG-13. And I sat there for somebody, but that's the problem. That's the problem, because this entire movie, you're rooting for Josh Hartnett's character. You're rooting for Cooper, the monster, the serial killer. Mm-hmm. What they should have done, show a kill, show him fucking somebody up. And then maybe we'll have that in our minds. Okay, I've seen him do this, like having a guy chained up in the basement. That's just kinky, right? But actually seeing him go through with one of the murders would have lifted this up a little bit more, I think. For all those haters that didn't like it, I think that was one of the biggest things, is like we needed to see the monster more than we did.
Yeah. And then it justifies his wife turning him in. You would feel more for her losing her husband if you knew exactly how much of a monster he was. You can't just call him the butcher and not have at least pictures from the police department where they're showing some of the crimes. All you get is the black guy, the t-shirt vendor, holding up his phone to Josh Hartnett's face, and Josh Hartnett just pushing it. Like, you never actually really get to see the horror.
All of the people are idiots, so you're definitely rooting for him, because you're just like, my God, if you people are this stupid, like,
you deserve
holy
to die.
Shit, yeah, right?
Yeah. I don't know what the opposite of Murphy's Law is, but that's what Josh Hartnett had going for him, which is the second time I've referenced Murphy's Law today. Looking at you, Kellen. But I don't know. I just think seeing him become more emotional. Alison Peel's job there, like when she was just standing there talking to the profiler, she was so good in that moment. And then it makes you think, like, well, what would you do if that happened? So I'll wrap up. But this story, I had to pick up Lindsay up at the airport. I told you guys this story. And we had just watched Trapped. And she went to her parents because her birthday's coming up. And she told them that story. And her mom was like, oh, I don't believe Jay would have done that. I'm like, oh, Jay the fuck did do it. So this guy at the airport, I pulled over. I was there for 20 seconds. I can see Lindsay. There's just a car in front of me. I can't get to her. Guy comes up. No waiting means no waiting. Oh, fucking thank you. So him and I get into a shouting match. I ended up telling him, have a nice fucking day. I was like, my wife's right there. She's coming. What's she look like? It doesn't matter what she looks like. I'm telling you, she's right there walking this way. I'm not moving my fucking car, especially when I see two cars in front of me. He's been there forever. The airport in Nashville is just insane. Anyways, we mentioned that after we watched Trapped again. And I said, well, we both made it home. I didn't end up in jail, blah, blah, blah. I said, or did he make it home? And she looked at me for a second. I'm like, you were tired. You went to sleep pretty quick. You didn't even hear me get out of bed. And she kind of looked at me for a second. So that went through my mind. I'm like, I could have pulled a Cooper on this one, went back to that airport, but don't be a dick for the airport. Anyways, I digress. So overall, love this movie. I'm a homer for Josh Hartnett. I'm a homer for M. Night. There's not been many films that he's done that I haven't liked. I think my least favorite is probably The Happening. Okay. I like The Village. The Happening is part of it. While it's a good concept, the acting is dog shit. Mark Wahlberg's not a great actor.
Bro, what do you mean it's bad acting? It's real good acting. It's right. As good as their burgers, man.
He was at his worst in that movie, and I don't get it. But the idea that I think it was PG-13. No, it couldn't have been PG-13. It was a lot of violence. But the idea that we're just killing ourselves randomly and we don't know why. I mean, it's such a good a good idea, but again, the acting just took it away. So I'm a big Shyamalan fan. I don't go to theaters much anymore. I just recently got Movie Pass. I think Longlegs was the first one I saw. This was the second, and then Romulus, all red posters. Coincidentally enough, that's the trend these days. But that's how excited I was for it. Kind of like Messengers. John, have you watched Messengers yet?
No.
Kellen has, right? Kellen, you have? No.
No.
So Messengers came out this year too, and that's his daughter's directorial debut, and he
Wait.
helped write it. Yeah, I thought you said you had watched it.
That's the one where they're in the woods, right? In the room.
Yeah, Dakota.
But this
Fanning.
is the
yeah.
this
I
is
did.
the
We
other
saw that in the
daughter.
theater.
Other daughter?
The other daughter, yes.
Okay, gotcha.
That's not a singer. It's kind of the same way. It goes along the lines with this movie. But people's biggest complaint, like Kellen touched on, is there was no big twist besides the wife. And I told you guys at one point, I thought, she knows what he's doing. She's involved in this somehow. I was completely wrong.
Mhm.
But she was just so good. Anyways,
It would have been a better twist if he wasn't actually the monster, if it was the wife
yeah.
and he was helping because he loved her.
Yeah, and like you said in a text, there's just no twist. And I told you, I said, well, the twist is that there is no twist, because that's what we know him for, is all these twists. So he's like, fuck it. Here's the preview for my movie. They're trying to catch this guy right here who is a killer. Like, I'm telling you straightforward what it is. The only thing you don't know is how they knew he was there. So anyways, we'll go around with our ratings. I'm going to let you guys go first to see what you say before I give mine. Kellen?
Yeah, like I said, I enjoyed it. It's rare that me and John have similar but different takes. I feel like my rating's probably going to be higher than his, or it might be exactly the same, just because I'm definitely more stringent with my numbers. But I give it a 3.5. I don't think it's a 4 movie. I agree with John, the rewatchability is not there. But as far as just a fun movie to watch if you haven't seen it, it's great. So 3.5.
John?
Yeah, I could definitely see the Dexter. I think we talked about this, the Dexter comparisons, and especially like when he's on the roof and he's like, oh God, sorry, there was an accident and I'm worried someone's scarred. And that was the only thing he did in the movie that I thought was not smart, was when he was talking to them and he was like, so who is that older lady? What does she do? I thought, dude, shut up. Don't ask that many questions. They're going to start but they didn't, they didn't suspect, but I thought you're asking too many questions.
I think that goes with the premise of he's unassuming.
Yeah.
Like, you just see this unassuming guy. There's no way he would be a monster. He's just asking simple questions.
Right. Yeah, and that's true. And I think it's almost like he's playing with these people like cattle.
Yeah.
I mean, I think, this is a good one. I like The Village a lot. This is kind of like, I don't know if I would rate The Village higher, but for me, it's like a really interesting idea, a good first half, and then it just kind of falls off at the second half with the writing. So it's like a 3 out of 5. It's good. I just wish that the second half could have paid off as good as the first. So.
That's fair. I gave it I was between 3.5 and a 4. I can see the rewatchability thing, but it's also a movie I want people to watch. I'm like, you got to watch this movie. Like, Lindsay was in Austin. I'm like, we got to watch Trap when you come back. And we did the first night she was back. So it's definitely a movie I wanted to share with people. I get what you're saying when he's on the roof and he's like, but again, he's not necessarily a suspect to them. He meets the profile, I guess, but same thing with Dexter. Like, he's just so just me. Oh, by the way, what's going on? Like, but at the same time, I'm a firm believer that the more you talk, the more guilty you are. Like when you're guilty of something and you just make up this elaborate thing, kind of like we were talking about lying earlier. You make up this elaborate story and people can start to pick that apart. Mm-hmm. But the less you say, the less they're going to know. So, I get what he was trying to do, but he had the walkie-talkie. He also, if he was as smart as he was, he should have known she's a profiler. I mean, it's not difficult to figure it out if he's listening to her. But I digress. I gave it a 3.5. So that puts us at a 3.3. We'll just bump it up to a 3.5, which I think is fair. I think on Rotten Tomatoes, it's got a lower critic score. But again, it's because it's Shyamalan and he just has that, that tainted look about him sometimes whenever he makes a new film, because he hasn't followed up with his best yet. So, all right, that's going to be it for this episode. Be sure to subscribe to our YouTube channel and to wherever you're listening to this podcast. Follow us on Instagram, TikTok, and join our group on Facebook. We also have an Amazon Music playlist, which does feature a few songs by Lady Raven, as well as other artists and scores from the movies we've done. So go check that out as well. I keep that pretty tight, and I listen to it almost every week. It's a nice little mix. So signing off, I'm Jay with John and Kellen. And until next time,
Keep it spooky.